Let me know if it's running.
Shipping.
I'll check. Actually, I forgot I subscribed to your channel, so I can just check now. Don't worry about it. Yep, it's working perfectly.
Young people from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
It really boils down to our ability to accept. We don't need pessimism.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Welcome to Straight Talk, a place where we dot the I's and cross the T's with your host, Mario Abate, also known as the Liquid Monkey, here with our two recurring guests, Josh Stubble, Professor Redpill, a man who knows his ways around the world of international political intrigue and world politics, and Punish Gusan, a young man navigating the treacherous world of college campus. Gentlemen, thank you for your presence and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, brother.
The first order of business, we would like to wish all of our American friends around the world a happy Thanksgiving. Don't forget to like and subscribe because content is king and attention moves the world. Now, what seems to be the news here? Because something is coming to my mind now about a paper that you wrote some time ago, back in January, that happened to be almost having a supernatural foretelling of the capacity. Would you be so kind to remind us of it?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I wrote a piece on my locals channel, and I talked about the Ukrainian conflict in Russia, and basically, what I had predicted is that there would be a possible peace deal coming at the end of summer and the fall, and at the same time, as a result of it, was due to the economic situation in the United States and globally, as we're starting to see right now. This is actually happening as I predicted it to the T. It's like I said, I seriously think that Ukraine is over. The war is done. There's going to be a forced peace deal in Ukraine, and it's going to come from, like I said, the State Department in Russia is going to work some kind of deal up. I whole 100% believe that. Because the thing is we're about ready to see some oil crises going on. Like there's going to be diesel shortages, all kinds of food shortages on a global scale, and we need the wheat production in Ukraine and Russia in order to sustain this economic model, this malaise that we're in. So consistent war is not good for the global economy. I mean, on top of that, I was predicting that a second thing would happen that would divert attention from the Ukrainian conflict. I didn't think it was going to be this current Israeli-Palestine conflict. I thought it was going to be a Chinese-Taiwan-U.S. conflict as a result of what's going on in the East Asian Pacific, with Taiwan.
Now that you mention it, Sassy, you didn't foretell something was happened, but then you foretold something happening. But you didn't foretell with exactly what. Now it comes to my mind: is this a manufactured a conflict between the great superpowers, or this is something that chaos brings into us?
I mean, the thing is like I mentioned in the Telegram, and I also wrote it on my locals channel. It's a war for resources, and this war has been ongoing since the Bush administration when they went into the Middle East. They're trying, like I said, these superpowers want to control energy in the Middle East. Like I said, China's now in the Middle East influencing the GCC, and they're all over the globe at this point to dominate energy resources, mineral rights, like in Afghanistan and in Congo, and they're quickly becoming a very big threat to America's homogeneity and energy resources. Because as you know, the United States has cut back on its energy production due to the Biden's policies with the zero carbon emissions, as well as the Green New Deal. And I had said then, I was like, no, this isn't good, because we were before when Trump was in office, we became the United States was a actual exporter of oil. We were producing so much oil and so much energy that we were selling it to other countries overseas, and we were exporting it. Now we're a major importer, and not only with energy and oil, now we're a major importer of food. I mean, this is insane. We're now dependent on the world for not only energy, but we're dependent on the world for food. We're dependent for manufactured goods, and it's going to get worse. And on top of this, we're dealing with water shortages in the Southwest United States. California, if you watching the news, they're talking about how California can't grow crops, and there's like crop wars. There's literally farmers fighting over each other for resources for water. This is happening right now as we speak in the West. So I mean, I don't necessarily see this getting any better, but yeah, I think we do have someone that's kind of an expert on Ukraine in the chat. It's Anthony, if he wants to speak, and maybe he can put some input, what he thinks.
Yeah,
Please go
thank you,
ahead.
guys. Yeah, thank you, Mario. Thank you, Josh.
What is your opinion
I
about
just wanted to
Josh?
add what you said. You made some great points, Josh. I think I want to look at it from two different spheres of zooming in, right? So let's zoom in a little bit. The weapons. First of all, can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So weapon manufacturing, it's a big jobs program, basically. We need to sell weapons. United States is one of the top weapon sellers in the world. And we need to manufacture conflicts in order to sell those weapons. That's one of the reasons. Reason number two, it's a geopolitical struggle for global dominance. America has been pretty much the dominant superpower since the end of the Cold War. And for a number of reasons, I mean, Josh knows pretty much most of them, I would imagine. For a number of reasons, we are in a decline as an empire. And now there's a bunch of geopolitical competition. China's rising, Russia's rising, and for example, we try to prevent Germany and Russia from unifying when we blew up that pipeline. As you know, they used to say, I think keep Germany down and keep Russia out. There was a phrase in the diplomatic circles. I mean, Josh would know. Yeah, I would say that as far as Ukraine, it's not good. It's not looking good. You can pretty much see it. I posted a clip on the on our main posting channel, whatever we call it nowadays. I posted a clip of the singer, Ukrainian singer, singing to a bunch of soldiers. And most of the soldiers look like old men, like old dudes, like geezers. And I'm watching this video, I'm like, where are the young guys? What happened to the young guys? They're all dead. Not all, but like most of them. And now I also posted a clip a little while ago. I think Joe Scarborough is his name. He had a show where he pretty much said, well, we can't make any more progress. There's no point. We're not gonna get Crimea back. We're not gonna get the Donbass back. So we might as well just kind of like hold what we have. Because I think the fear is that they might lose more ground. That Russia will commit more troops, more resources, and they will get close to Kiev. I think that is the fear. I don't think much is gonna happen now that winter is here. It's gonna be kind of like a frozen conflict, literally in the winter. So we'll see what happens in the spring, but it's not looking good because America does not want to. Well, I don't think it's a matter of what they want. I think it's really hard for them to fueled 3 conflicts at once in Taiwan, in Palestine, and in the Donbass. So it's gonna hit us hard at home. The inflation is already hit us hard, and Biden's gonna tank in the polls really hard too, because
I got a
it's not
question.
a yeah. Go.
When you finish, I have a question for Anthony. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So I think the Biden was pretty much betting on the fact that he's going to be a war president and he's going to get some kind of a boost. Josh is laughing, but you know, it's a stupid notion that people politicians have that if they are pro-war, that somehow I know why they have it because what happened at 9/11. So I'm seeing a lot of parallels with 9/11, October 7th, and Pearl Harbor. Yeah, I do. I do because these are all events that, you know, you can argue if they're real events or if it's a staged event, but they're pretty much catalysts to like to a giant global conflict, right? Pearl Harbor brought America into World War II. September 11th was the excuse to get into Afghanistan and Iraq. And now I guess I don't know what the goal is. What's the end goal in Israel? I guess. And I actually had read articles recently that pretty much back up what Josh was saying, that they found some I guess gas or oil deposits near the Gaza Strip. And Josh was one of the first people to talk about that. But now I'm seeing more articles about it. I don't remember if I posted it. I might have, but yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say for now. But let me know if you have any questions.
I have 2 questions. The first one, I understand you live somewhere in Central and Western Europe, right?
No, I had said before I live in New York.
Okay. What is the when you mention the parallelisms between United 9/11 and Pearl Harbor as catalyst? What can you elaborate a little bit on that? I would love to hear your opinion about it.
So basically, during Pearl Harbor, we needed a reason to enter the war. There was a giant blockade against Japan, and we were pretty much trying to prod them to do something, I guess, is the what I would say. And during Pearl Harbor, there were some warnings that the United States received that they ignored about the incoming attack. And they used Pearl Harbor to get public support to enter World War II. 9/11, pretty much the same. It was a patriotic fervor. We were like, oh, like rah rah rah, USA, USA. We gotta kill them Muslim bastards in the Middle East, right? And look what happened. Afghanistan is a bigger shithole than before we went in. You got the Taliban still running the show. Iraq, I mean, that was a even worse disaster. You could say Saddam was a bad guy, but at least it was a functioning country. Like what is going on now? It's like ISIS and all these Turkish rebels and you know all these extremists, Sunni extremists are controlling the country. So that was the end goal. And you made Iran stronger actually because Iran got a lot of support in the region after this conflict. So it seems like our foreign policy is upside down. Whatever we do is giving us the opposite effect. So for example, we were trying to keep Russia and China apart, right? That was our goal to make sure they don't combine power. But everything we do is bringing them together because we're isolating Russia from Europe and America. So we're basically shooting ourselves in the foot, metaphorically speaking, you know.
Do you think that is because I always remember there's something called the principle of Hamlin, which is never attribute to evil what can be explained through stupidity. If we cannot explain the real reasons our cunning and intelligent, savvy, in relentless leadership is doing, can we just chalk it out to stupidity? That our leaders are not as smart as we think, as they think, and we think they are, and eventually they're just middle to old age men and women who just want to keep their businesses together, to live happily just another day, or is there a sort of end game or project? Because I always like to think myself, as we well mentioned yesterday, that the concept that the world is not run by an elite cabal. It's simply drifting away because nobody, even the elite cabals, cannot stem any tide. We are, as a humanity, we're just stumbling across history. Uh, uh, what do you think is the final word about it? Uh,
I
do we
would
need to
actually
prepare?
go ahead, bro.
Please, Gusana.
I actually
I just
what's
go
that
ahead.
principle called again? The Hammond principle? Is that what you call it?
Hanlon principle. Hanlon.
Hanlon. Okay.
Hanlon. It's called never attribute to evil what could be explained through stupidity.
I would actually push back on that notion. It sounds good on the surface, but I actually find that um, from just hearing, I've heard that a lot. That saying a lot. I would push back that things being stupid and evil are not things that are mutually exclusive. A lot of evil is based on the stupidity of people, and the stupidity of people has often let them into doing evil things. And a lot of evil leads into doing stupid things. I think they're concepts that are downstream and upstream from each other. If you look at history, at some of the more evil things that have happened, um, a lot of it have been done. A lot of it has been done on stupid notions, and a lot of stupid notions in history have led to evil things. So really, I think, especially nowadays, the stupidity and the evil are inseparable. I think the people in this world, a lot of the leadership in this world is just, they do just have such selfish, egoistic intentions that are based on stupid notions that lead them to do evil. They'll view that evil, and they will either blind themselves to it as a way to cope, or they will completely detach themselves from their morality in a stupid attempt to pursue their own interest. I think it's inseparable. The two are inseparable, especially today.
Well, at the long run, it doesn't matter if it's evil or stupidity. The damage is still the final outcome.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So essentially, nowadays we're dealing with huge amount of damage. What is the state of the economy that sustains these adventurous endeavors of stupidity, of ill intention and ill results? At one point, I mean, you just Josh said it himself. I mean, after all, we have farmers fighting for land, and we have United States, the once mighty nation that was the locomotive and leader of the world, is forcing to import food and fuel. This reminds me of that moment in Roman history that you ended having armies and legions in Africa and in Gaul, because those were the bread baskets. And if any foreign chieftain wanted to create great harm on the Roman economy, all he had to do was raid those fields, and the Romans knew it. A sense of fragility is coming into my mind. Gentlemen, what's your opinion about that?
Well, like I said, Gerald Salente said it best, man, and it was actually a quote that he quoted someone else. When everybody loses everything, they lose it, and that rings true. I mean, that's Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, end of civilization. People are in the streets rioting. When, like I said, with California, they're running out of water resources, and this is, like I said, the greed. I mean, they've overbuilt the Southwest. They're building so much due to this housing boom as a result of that we're dealing with right now. It's about ready to be a housing bust that I'm predicting. I predicted January 31st that would happen by the end of fall. Um, I mean, it's it, it's going to get bad, guys. I mean, I can't sugarcoat it at all. It's going to get bad. And the thing is that the more intelligent people and the more skilled and prepared people, they're probably going to fare a lot better. And I mean this prepared as in the sense of like, paying off debts, not taking a lot of debt, paying cash, holding, some sovereign currency like gold, silver, maybe some crypto, um, and just being prepared for like, hard times, knowing how to kind of cultivate farming, growing like, tomato garden in your yard or something like that. Because even in Russia, there's people that they have like little community gardens in Russia. And it's been like that for a long time. You even see it in Europe. If you go to Italy, for instance, the way the houses are built, they're built like, like a little community. And even, in a lot of Eastern Europe that I went to, a lot of these older blocks from the Soviet period, they got like little gardens and like green spaces in the middle of these little blocks. You see it in Ukraine as well. And you could easily just grow a community garden for the people there to help sustain for, food shortages, because food shortages are coming. I mean, I can't, I'm not trying to scare people, but I'm just saying like that's gonna happen. It's gonna be a global wide food shortage. So
We don't. I
go
mean,
ahead.
we don't want to scare people, but guys, something big will happen. It's not about scare. It's about caution. It's when you. I mean, find people who are reading this, who are listening to us. We can, as in our honesty, in our humility, but taking false modesty aside, I am surrounded by people who have made the foretelling of the future via sound methods of investigation and thought their bread and butter and their living. And we're telling you that hard times are coming ahead. And those who are not prepared will suffer. We don't want you to suffer, or at least we want you to suffer the least. Josh, as a man who is known in the world of international intrigue, what would be your advice for the young man of 22 years old who is listening to us, who is feeling kind of anxious and urged to do something? If you were in his shoes, what would you do in the, let's just say, in the week, in the month, and in the year ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like it's best to be prepared. And like I said, if nothing happens, then you don't have anything to worry about. You're better for it. Um, I would say the harder you work earlier in life, the easier life will be as you get older. So, and that means like, reading a lot, reading classics, go read Homer, go read Plato's Republic, go read up on some St. Thomas Aquinas, get some philosophy. You can
Marcus
even,
Aurelius.
if you really, yeah, yeah. I mean, if you like, if you just read some philosophy, read some classics, and just broaden your mind. Study some STEM subjects. You know what I mean, like some basic chemistry, mathematics, and I mean, you really like that's the starter, and then learn about like healthy eating, learn about personal finance, basic finance. And like I said, it's all about self improvement. It's trying to become like a Sigma, because a Sigma is a type of person that doesn't really need anything, doesn't really need help from other people. They can do it on their own, and the reason why they can do it on their own is because they're self sustainable. They don't need a woman. They would like a woman, and generally women will gravitate towards them because they know that they have the resources and they have the know how to protect them. Um, but I mean, like I said, when you see other people talk about Sigmas, I think that they have the concept, but it's very surface. To be a Sigma just means like literally being the best person that you can be. You know what I mean? You can see that from a biblical perspective, but you can also see it from a secular perspective. Just being knowledgeable, understanding your surroundings, caring about your community, volunteering, these sort of
Hey
things.
Josh, did you see
Yeah.
that interview with Andrew Tate and what's his name? The British guy. I'm blanking on his name right now. I
Andrew
posted it
Tate
in
and
Was he
Pierce,
was he an anchor?
not
Oh,
Pierce,
Pierce Morgan.
Pierce
Yes.
Morgan,
Okay.
right?
No, I
It,
saw a
it's
little bit of it,
it
but
was
yeah, what's up?
it was ridiculous. I don't know if you saw that part. So basically, Andrew Tate said, and I'm not like okay, and I'm not a big Andrew Tate guy. It's just whenever somebody makes a good point, you take it, right? Doesn't matter where it
of
comes
course.
from. But basically, Andrew Tate said, I want to become a guy who can sustain myself and my woman, and I can provide for her, and she doesn't have to work unless she wants to. And when he said that, that really triggered Pierce Morgan. He said, that sounds misogynistic. So what you want is a woman who doesn't want to work? I'm like, what does that even mean? And he said, and Andrew Tate said, well, that's how people used to live, like, and think like
Yeah.
20 years ago and 30 years ago. And now it's misogynistic.
Well,
You know,
well, you have to think. Go ahead, go ahead. Finish, please.
yeah, and it's like I'm thinking, where's the misogyny? He's not, what is he saying that he's gonna put her in a dungeon and hold her against her will? He obviously said if she wants to work, let her work, but she doesn't have to work, and I'll provide for
Let
her and
me
I'll protect her.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let Mario ask
Go.
this question. I'll answer that. From my perspective, like I said, my wife and I've been married, what are we going on 13 years now. And my wife was very dependent on me. And I'm like, dude, like you don't have to pretend to be dependent on me. Like, you could be independent. You were independent before you met me. Be independent right now. And what I mean by independent is it's like, you know, self-improvement. Improve yourself, work on yourself. You know, and the same thing with me. Like we can't codepend on each other. That's not healthy. You know what I mean? You got to be your own person. And at the same time, it's a partnership. So like you both equally bring things to the table. And being a very knowledgeable and very good at communicating and knowing situational awareness, you can read people. And the main thing is like with women, it's being able to see them like as an equal, like, intellectually, but also I mean, like relationship wise. So it's a two-way street. I mean, my wife, she was an opera singer. I told her, I was like, we had a child, and I was like, I think the child needs a lot of attention, and you wanted to be a mom. So I was like, make a choice. Like I said, do you want to be a full-time opera singer, or do you want to be a full-time mom? Because you can't necessarily be both. You know what I mean? You got to pick one or the other, because both require a lot of attention and a lot of, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna be a mom. I'm gonna be a stay-at-home mom. And but yet she still works. She still has part-time work, and she contributes. So, and she's able to give the attention to the child that. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing that I noticed is that women hurt on the feminist idea. Oh, and something this idea they consider it noble. Even when we talk about stupidity and evil, I mean, these people think that this is a noble goal. The idea of the independent woman who don't need no man. It's, of course, it flat face on reality. But going back to the couple, the women that I when I was in relationships, sustained long term relationships, I was given the choice not to work. You know what? You don't have to stay at home if you want and do your thing. The only thing that I want, I mean, these are the limits. This is what I want. There are not many things. I mean, I want some a house that is clean, a healthy environment, which means that I don't want to be yelled at as soon as I come, a warm plate of food, and a hug, and some sexual access. I think it's a reasonable normal thing to do. And when giving them the choice, Like, you can be an independent woman if you want, but you have the choice of not being an independent woman and work and stay at home, and I give you an stipend of money, and you can ask me whatever you want, and I'll provide it for you. All of them, all of them accepted the deal. And of course, and of course, they took a part-time job in order to have some money or to feel useful and to fulfill that feminist mandate, which they actually never believed. When a woman is truly happy and content with a man she admires, feminism goes out the window. Feminism, I believe that feminism is in itself a cope, a very elaborate cope, but a cope of either ugly women, resentful women, and attractive women. I believe that's ugly and attractive in that sense can be both and exchangeable, because I'm not necessarily talking about ugly in the physical way, but unpleasant women, rude women, resentful women. Uh, Women can be receptive. Women love men they can admire, and the only way they can admire a man is by respecting him, and the only way that a man can be respectful and respected is by. This is something I wanted to ask to Josh. I mean, do you think, Josh and Anthony and Pulish Lusano, that the concept of Sigma is a rebranding of the former Roman Stoic or the Greek Spartan? A man that is committed to a journey, to a sense of belonging, of something superior to him.
I mean, in my perspective, what I think of a Sigma, I mean, I would consider myself somewhat of a Sigma. Like I said, in high school, all I cared about was sports and bettering myself athletically. And I focused on my academics. I had so many women like wanting to date me in high school, very like the top women at the school. And I just like, I don't have time. Like, if I was like, do you want to go hang out in my car? Do you want to hang out at my house? You know what I mean? Like we're not going to go anywhere because I don't have time to dedicate to you. I have more important things to worry about. And I think because of that, um, the women gravitated towards me because they were like, wow, this guy is not really interested. So I had women pursuing me, and it was the same in college too. Because like in college, I was busy playing, football and wrestling in college, and same thing. Like was difficult for me. You know what I mean? Because my focus was my academics and my sports. Um, you know what I mean? When I finished sports, I had a lot of time on my hands, and then that's when I realized it was hard to get women because I was interested in dating because I was like I had more time, and I saw the complete opposite. So I think if you really want to focus, if your goal is to like get married or to find someone or to date or whatever, is just focus on yourself, find hobbies, and like I said, if you get in a relationship and the woman's like not interested, then don't be like, all right, that's fine. I'll go find something else to do. You know what I mean? Get a core group of friends. You know what I mean? And just
And
like I said, your friends support you, and your hobbies are your life.
find fulfillment in something beyond women.
Yeah, it'll give you happiness. Because do women give you happiness? I don't think
Not
so.
really.
I don't get happiness from women. I mean, my wife doesn't really make me happy. I mean, like we're married. I mean, like
It's
I'm
good to have
happy to be
around.
with her and stuff. Yeah, yeah, of course. But I mean, I'm not like I don't what I mean? Like I don't necessarily I'm not gonna like if she's like, hey, I'm doing my own thing, okay. I mean, because my wife's busy, man. She works overseas, she works all over. So like we don't really see each other. We're kind of like two ships passing by each other sometimes. But when we're together, no, man, it's like
Awesome.
it's like this, man. It's like that.
Yeah.
But you got to have
Glad.
that separation. You know what I mean? You got to have that separation because obviously like lonely, if you're what's the word I'm looking for? Time apart allows her to think. And she's like, oh wow, they start thinking about
When we
you.
talk about
And the further time you're
the
apart,
importance of silence, the
yeah,
importance of loneliness and silence that we talk on
yeah,
Monday. In, think about how important it is to be away from your significant other for a while so you can foster missing each other.
yeah. It's healthy, man.
Uh,
It's healthy to spend time apart. So when a woman's telling you
Um,
like I think we should date other people, or we need to take time apart, she's really saying like I'm getting bored. That's why, it's because you have those beta orbiters that just orbit them, and my wife's got those beta orbiters. She doesn't respect them. You know, I even have beta orbiters. I have people that like I have betas that like try to like orbit me, and like like I dated this one girl in college, and literally her beta orbiter became my beta orbiter, and then when we broke up, he like went away. It was the weirdest shit I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean?
well,
But I saw that, I experienced that.
no, thing is that actually, I mean, as a man who enjoys activities, and this is something it's going to sound weird, but please bear with me. It's the idea of having God
Yeah.
speak to you, having God speak to you through the discovery of your craft. When you do something and you become good at something, and you feel this sense of perplexity and flow in the activity you do, and then you feel this fulfillment, this joy after, not only in the completion but also in the process of doing what you do, you get this aura of wholeness, in the sense that, and of course, Alan Watts said about holiness is actually to be holy is also whole, as in you embrace your good and your bad and your talent, and everything is expressed in the quality of the craft. And women crave that because women, they see a man that is not going to be swayed away by other women. So this is what a woman thinks. He gravitates for me because I'm hot. But what happens when my body decays? Will he leave me for another woman? Of course. So when you become to be you, and you will do you, and you will find your beauty in your own activity, then he's going to say, then she's going to say, oh, so he's not attracted to women by the sake of women. He can be attracted to me by what I bring to him, and then I can be with him. Then you become attractive. In a way, to be attractive to women, to be incredibly attractive, to have women flocking to you, you need to find yourself away from them. Find yourself away from them. First, in order to be loved by women, you need to love yourself with your imperfections, with your shadows, with the things that embarrass you. You need to love them, to embrace them, and pour them into an art. This art does not necessarily need to be an artistic endeavor of beauty and aesthetics like painting or graphic. It can be, for example, become good at capital markets, become good at being a stonemason, at anything. That's why it's important to have a trade, that we mentioned it before, so you can be proud of yourself. Importantly, having some money, because uh, forget about what the leftists say to you, that money is evil, because ironically enough, these leftists who tell you that money is evil, they make money by telling you that money is evil. Let me take it away from you, so I can. That is a grift. That is a grift. The most elaborate grifts of all. Uh, I'm sorry, I got myself carried away. Please, Punish Gusano and Anthony, I very much like to know what your opinion about this is. Go ahead. Oh,
Well, can you
as a
repeat the
man of
question?
22
Can you
years old,
repeat
Punish
the
Gusano.
question? Can you repeat the question?
Yes, Punish Gusano. As a man of 22 years old who is living and navigating the treacherous world of college campus, or American college campuses, how is your Sigma adoption of life, your stoic values and principles? Sometimes they rough, and then sometimes they may crash against the leftist, hedonist, self-serving, uh, self-absorbed concept of life.
Um, well, honestly, I wouldn't say that I really identify with the whole sigma, alpha, beta stuff. That's all. At the end of the day, that's all like that's a lot of that is like rhetoric to me. And it can be
Yes.
used positively, but often it's used negatively. I often find, for example, if you say that to somebody, they really won't take you seriously. Like it's just like the reality. It's like, and they'll use it sometimes even as like a way to dissuade the conversation outright in front of others. Like for example, incel is used like that. If you go and criticize anything like a popular woman does, the people would just call you an incel. Even if you have like I've seen it. Even if you have like a girlfriend or a wife or you've had sex with women, they'll just call you an incel as a way, and it's a catch-all term that can literally just mean anything to the for the user that's using it to dissuade. It can mean I've seen incel mean anything from misogynistic, another false term, all the way to racist, alt-right, homophobic. They say that incel also means anti-Semitic, so it means nothing. It means whatever it needs it to mean in the moment. And that's why, like, I don't hate on anybody that uses Sigma and Alpha. They're good ways for common speech to convey an idea, but otherwise, I personally don't identify with it. I just consider myself a man at the end of the day, and that's really all you really need to be is a man. There's men and there's males, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Um, and that's all there really needs to be. Everything else, in my opinion, is can kind of distract from the primary objective. And I really do think that we just need to go back to men need to reappropriate the word man because unfortunately, in my opinion, I think the what is a man has been unfortunately taken from the rightful owners, which are men, and been given to women. Women will move up and down to tell you what a man is when they've never seen one. And it's also been taken by the beta orbiters that you guys were talking about, Josh. How many weak guys have you met that will try to tell you that they're a man when they're, for example, they're left wing, liberal, some type of LGBTQ creature. So these are the people we're gonna let take the word man and start dictating who and who it isn't. That's their way to disarm you and dissuade you and demoralize you, in my opinion.
Yeah, I want to add to that. Yeah, Panish Kasana made some good points there. I would say being a man is being yourself and going against the flow, going against what's popular and what's in the new, what's like, what the trend is. Everybody wants to go with the trend. Oh, look what's this person, famous person is doing or wearing, and look what they're saying in the news. So basically, you have to try to find yourself. You don't buy into the mainstream narratives, mainstream uh, viewpoints. You always have to question things. I think it's very healthy to question things because
100%.
we're told to believe in what we're told, believe the science, believe our politicians, believe the media, and they're all lying to us, as we know, uh, in this group. So you have to find yourself, you have to find the truth, you have to search for the truth, and you have to use your critical thinking skills, use your rationality, your brains, use your brains, try to figure things out. Try to find a place in this world. Try to, uh, yeah, like Josh said, try to make yourself better as a person. Work on yourself, you know? Even before we try to get into a relationship with other people, we have to develop ourselves as a complete human being because you cannot look for somebody to complete you because that's always going to be a problem. So basically, be yourself, be yourself, And when I'm saying be yourself, work on yourself. Be self-critical. Don't say to yourself, "Oh, I'm the best." You know, I know everything. Sometimes you have to be humble. Sometimes you have to say, "Well, did I make a mistake? Is there anything where I can improve myself? You know, is there any other way I can look at this differently?" Because
Now,
two people can have a traumatic experience and handle it differently, right? One person can fall apart, and the other person can grow from it and learn some lessons. So it's about perspective too. So being a man basically means, uh, being mentally strong, being physically strong, emotionally. You cannot let emotions control you.
a word
And
comes to
sometimes,
me.
it happens. It happens to the best of us, right? And then you just think about it. Okay, maybe I should have handled that differently. How would I handle it better next time? That's all.
Don't be so hard on yourself. I'm sorry. I interrupted you, Anthony. I'm just sorry. Please go ahead.
No, I'm pretty much done. That's all. That's what I wanted to say.
The word that comes to mind when you were speaking was usefulness. Be useful as a man. Make yourself useful. Wouldn't you agree that would be a very a nice definition?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I
so.
would say so. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Josh, please go
No,
ahead. You want to
definitely.
say something?
I mean, the thing is, it's like obviously, like, you're men are useful, right? We're the backbone of society. We've been that way since caveman days. We have those leader instincts. Um, so naturally, there's that hierarchy. I mean, what you can contribute. Look at any type of team. You could go from sports teams to business teams to, like, military teams. The leaders are going to rise from within, and what separates a great leader from, like, a mediocre leader is they ask everybody to make an input, even if you're just like, it's just a little bit, it's a little inch. It's like, dude, just put something in, man, and everybody's gonna be happy. And you have to support that person because your weakest link is your strongest link. If you really think of it that way.
I I want to go back a little bit to the the American people now who are going through these hardships in the United States. Understanding you're a savvy man in the dealings of banking and probably what do you think a man can do to improve himself in a more economical way besides trading and such? Do you think what advice would you give to a man from here to 6 months?
I mean, as far as finance, personal finance, I mean, the thing is just spend less than you make. Aaron Clary says that all the time. That's the main key, is, like I said, is just try. The thing is with men is, like, we don't we're very frugal. I mean, like, we don't need a lot. you know it's when you start bringing relationships and women into the mode that you start needing more money. So you're starting a family, you're having kids, that sort of thing. Or you have a baby mama. you know
Oh yeah.
but yeah, but the reality is that, just when you're young, man, the main thing is just you're not necessarily going to be a very wealthy person. Men increase in assets, and they increase in, like, value as they get older. So your biggest thing is you're young, you're healthy, work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, like I said, go to school, work on yourself. By the time you hit late 20s, 30s, that's when you're starting to get into your stride. And then you need to start, like, hey man, maybe I'll start looking at, getting long-term relationships. But when you're young, man, just have fun, and then focus on yourself and what's important to you, that is going to benefit you in the future. Like I said, you work harder when you're younger, it's going to be a lot easier when you get older. That's all I can say.
It is at the age of 42 years old, being a guy who grinded in my 20s and half my 30s. Life is awesome. I know it's a little bit uncalled for and to toot your own horn, but As a man of 41 years old, Josh, how is good? How good is life for you? Are you happy as a man who has done his homework back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I basically did the opposite of whatever my parents told me to do. My boomer parents, they told me to do something, I did the complete opposite, and
Okay.
I actually benefit more by not listening to them and just trying to figure it out on my own. So, like the way I went through life is, I have older brothers that are ex gens. I saw how they made mistakes and what they did wrong, and I learned from their mistakes, and I didn't repeat it. So I had guinea pigs that showed me, the ropes, and I saw what they did, and I did the opposite because they listened to my parents. You see what I'm saying? Um, and that's why I've been successful throughout my life. And it's still an ongoing thing. I mean, like I said, success is it's really it's you can't really define what success is, but for me, I feel success. I feel fulfilled. To be honest, today I've accomplished everything I wanted to do in my life. Um, the next step is find another hobby. I master something and then I'm like, okay, I'm bored with this. I'm gonna move on to the next thing. I'm gonna master something else. Like now I'm doing social media. I'm gonna try to master this and see where it goes. And everything I do, I put all my effort into my heart and soul, and I try to learn everything. I try to work with people. I ask other people that are doing it, questions to try to see, how to make it successful. But that's all I could say, man, is just like when you're getting into something, just put your heart into it, man. Even if you're not getting paid, you're still learning something that's going to be useful later in life. And I've learned that through my last, 20, 30 years.
Polish Gusano, how do you deal with your with this young with your youth and your energy? How do you deal with the free time and and temptations of the world that you're being surrounded?
Kind of back to what Anthony said is being thyself. Um, I really like don't. I struggled with it probably when I was much younger, early high school, late
You
middle
struggle
school.
with?
With not by being with being distracted by worldly things. I
Oh
used to
yeah.
struggle with it obviously as a young man. I used to struggle with it more. Um, but now, it's kind of almost like an automatic thing. I'm able to, if I'm not doing anything, I'm truly not doing anything, right? If I've done everything I need to do for the day and there's really nothing else pending, most people after they've done when they found nothing else to do, they'll often feed into their vices, drugs, alcohol, the such, the dailies that people like to engage in. I truly sometimes find myself just doing absolutely nothing, being still. People will say that's counterproductive or unproductive, but honestly, it's actually great to be with yourself for even an hour, 2, 3 hours. Just do nothing, no video games, nothing. Just sit there, relax, and just be still. I think we spoke about this a couple podcasts, or maybe a podcast ago. Um, People need to learn how to be still. The world and especially the workload, the work pace tells people that they need to be frantic at all times. If you're doing nothing, you're wasting time, and I actually find that obsession with time to be very counterproductive. Some If you obsessed about all your time, you'll the time will move very painfully, in my opinion. If you learn to just be still and to be relaxed and to just stay in the present and live in the present and work in the present, I things will move a lot faster and a lot more painlessly, in my opinion.
So you're talking about meditation.
No, I don't believe in meditation.
Hmm.
A question for Panish Gusano. If you were to tell them something to the fellow man, to the fellow 22-year-old man who is very much in tune with you because of your age and their struggles, who is either in college campus or is grinding a 9 to 5 or even worse job, who feels stuck and frustrated in life, but who sees in you somebody they can relate to. What would you tell him?
Um, Well, nothing else besides what I've already said. Learn to be still. Learn to be by yourself. A lot of people need to learn to be by yourself. Be very smart with who you befriend, because college is a very good looking glass into what the corporate world will be like. Especially to those people, those guys especially, that join things like frats and sororities. Um, and even clubs. Be very careful and very vigilant. Excuse me. Be very careful and very vigilant on how and who you deal with things. Um, because you'll often find that the menial, petty, feminine politics that infest the current workplace are it's not they don't start in the workplace, they start in college. They really do. Fraternities, sororities, those same little habitual social habits of eating each other alive and basically maintaining a group of rivals rather than peers is it starts it's an indoctrination and a social standard that starts in the college and only proliferates further once people get into the workplace. College, unironically, produces demons. There's no other word for the type of people that the college system pumps out. They're people that
That
are
willful harm.
they are looking to step over each other, kill, destroy. There's nothing else. They love evil. Go into the average workplace, and from the biggest corporate building in America to the smallest startup, the people that once you learn to see, and I'm not talking about with mine or your two eyes. Once you learn to see, you will be shocked. It'll make your head spin. The type of people that exist in corporate America exist just in the United States and around the world, and it's not an American thing. It's in Argentina. It's in this country of Georgia. It's in Africa. It's in Asia. It's in Central America. It's in the Caribbean. It's in Canada, Mexico, UK, Russia, any country that you can go to, you will find people. Do not delude yourself with this idea that the people in the West are the only ones that are messed up and weird. Go to any country in the world. Most people are possessed. And I'm not talking about the type you see in the movies. It's much more subtle and it's much more cunning than what you think. It's not going to be somebody levitating up in a room with blood running down the walls. It's going to be subtle, little by little destruction of those around them.
Yeah,
You know
Thomas
the
Aquinas talks about that. Thomas Aquinas talks about, like, that one rotten apple rottens the bunch, and that every single sin like adds up to like basically rot your soul from within.
you
So
know
it's
who you
each little
remind me
sin
of.
adds up. Hmm.
Sorry about John. You
Go ahead.
when
Sorry.
when you were speaking, you reminded me of. Do you remember Apocalypse Now?
Talking to me?
The movie Apocalypse Now. Do you remember it?
No, I've never watched it.
There is
Oh, that's a
this
good movie.
I've
iconic
heard.
scene, iconic scene in the movie where the actor Marlon Brando, who embraces the general curse, a colonel gone rogue who the United States High Command wants dead. The whole movie is about killing a man. So when he says he has these iconic scenes of 4 minutes when he talks about the horror, when he fathoms and grasps the horror that you were expressing, because the most horrible thing is that it lurks in the soul of any man and woman, the evil, the willful harm, and the pleasure that derives in that willful harm. It lies in the soul of any one of us. You, me, and dear listener who are listening to it, it lies in you too. And if you let it out, it will destroy you, and it will destroy anyone because it's a destructive force. That's why it's important to embrace values, to keep it to keep it engaged, because at one point I will not deny the usefulness of it, because if you're living, if you're in harm's way, if your life, liberty, and property are under threat, you will want to use that evil strength, that shadow that lies within you. But when you make a profit out of it, then it's where you see the evil and the violence unfold around you. And you will see now, when you began reading Santo Tomas of Aquinas or Marcus Aurelius, as we always recommend you to, you begin to see patterns of people acting that way that they could have acted another way, and you would, and the only explanation of why they do what they do is because they choose to. There is no other excuse. There is no other explanation, and therefore they have no excuse other than they gloat on the pleasure that derives in their harm, and that is the only unforgivable sin: willful harm. I'm sorry, I got myself carried away again. Please, Josh, you were going to say something, and I interrupted you, and I'm sorry about it. You're muted. You you're muted.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, no. I was just wanting to put some input about Thomas Aquinas. That's all. Um, yeah, he's a good philosopher as far as like from a servant leadership perspective. Definitely, more secular
He
would
was
probably be more
Catholic.
like Plato, Socrates. Yeah, he's Catholic. Yeah, Catholic priest,
Greatest
medieval
ever
What did he
Catholic
speak
Catholic
about?
theologian.
priest. Is probably one of the greatest philosophers in as far as the Catholic Church. Definitely.
Can you can you elaborate on that? I would like to read it, and I'm sure your reader would enjoy
No, he's
the
written many.
listener.
He's written. Yeah, I mean, he's written volumes and volumes of stuff. I mean, like talking about different stuff, man. Like talking about policies, law, ethics, philosophy, religion. If you're like really in, if like to be honest, guys, like I said, like if you're really into self improvement and the manosphere and the red pill, these are people you need to read, man. I'm telling you, you need to read Thomas Aquinas. You need to read Plato. You need to read some Socrates. Um, you know what I mean? Read some classics. You really will broaden your mind, and the chicks dig it, man. That's all I'm
I got a
saying.
question.
Chicks dig it.
Wasn't he? I mean,
Like you said.
I heard the story of one very holy saint that was so committed to the godly cause that he was once offered a woman. His family. He lived he, he lived like a hikikomori. The only thing that he did was he stayed in his room days on end writing, feeling the inspiration, the godly inspiration, and he barely came out to eat and to do his necessities. After that, he was just all this God and writing. And once his family, worried about his well-being, decided to bring him a woman of the streets, to get him out of that
Yeah. Wow. No.
role, if we say. And he actually became so upset that he hid, and he locked in behind the door of a cupboard, of a, how do you call the place where you put the clothes? We call it
Closet.
You mean a
Espósito Santo. Help me
closet?
out.
Stay in the closet?
Closet. Yes, he hid
Is this a
behind the
metaphor?
closet.
Hold on,
No, he
Mario. Is
actually
this a
did.
metaphor for something? Or okay, it's literal. Okay, that's what to say.
No, it's not. Come on, Josh. Okay, a
Very
moment of humor
inappropriate,
with Josh
Joshua.
Double.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
Okay,
kidding.
okay,
I'm
yeah, yeah,
sorry.
okay. But what was his Saint Augustine or Saint Thomas of Aquinas?
I'm not familiar with Aquinas doing anything like that, but I will say, Mario, if you want to read one Aquinas work, read the Five Proofs. They're five logical, um, basically logical explanations for the existence of God. It has
The
it
five
almost
truths.
touches on nothing theological. It's all just empiric logical analysis of the world around you, which leads you to understanding.
Actually, write it down
I,
because I want to
The
read it.
5 ways
I
or the
mean,
5 proofs.
like I said, the thing is like you understand, you gotta be like a monk mentality, like Spartan. Like you understand, like a Sigma. If you really want to formulate what a Sigma is, it's a mixture of a Spartan and a monk. They don't need women, man. They're like, dude, I don't need women. But the women are like, oh, you know what I mean? They're like gravitating to them.
Uh,
They just
you know
chicks dig
who?
smart, strong dudes. And you don't have to be like strong, like like strong. You just gotta be like strong
Strong,
in here, man.
strong here too.
Not in here. Well, you gotta be strong in your heart, but like,
Yeah.
dude, you gotta be smart, sharp, like attack, man. I mean, go look at Benjamin Franklin, man. He was the most attractive guy in the world, but that guy was such a ladies' man. He got kicked out of Europe. They banned him from the from France because he was banging so many women. They were like, dude, you got to get out of here, man. The guy was smart as hell. He had so much like he had so many patents that like literally was just given away for free. It's like, here, you can have it. You know what I mean?
Really. You know
Yeah, he was that smart.
what do you think about this guy? I mean, is he, according to your point, a Sigma guy? Khabib Nurmagomedov,
Habib
something like that.
Nurmagomedov.
That guess who?
Habib Nurmagomedov.
That one.
Yep.
Do you think he embodies the stoic Sigma monk warrior that we strive to be?
No.
Okay, why not?
I'm actually a big fan of MMA, so I know extensively about Habib. Um, I think that whole Dagestani brother thing they do is partly for show. Those guys are not as pure or clean of their hands as they admit. For example, a lot of people laud Khabib's 29-0 record, but before he got into the UFC, he actually fought in his father's promotion over there in Russia against guys who were, I'm not kidding, there was some guys who had records of like three wins to like 100 losses. Absolute tin cans. Um and he gets lauded for his record and he plays on this that he, he's one of the few undefeated fighters in the history of MMA, this and that. But the guys he fought are not impressive. And Khabib has only really ever fought two champions, if I'm not mistaken, which are Conor McGregor and Justin Gaethje. Everybody else, and excuse me, Rafael dos Anjos, but he's really not as impressive. And if you and Conor McGregor exposed this during the press conferences for that legendary fight. Habib, the money that flowed through his camp, his fighting camp, was very dirty. There was another Dagestani. They all share the same last names. His name was also Nurmagomedov. He's a Dagestani billionaire that was put in jail by Vladimir Putin. He was an oligarch, and he was funneling. I believe the specific thing that Putin put him in jail for. I could be mistaken, but I believe he was arming Caucasus fighters who were fighting against the Russian government, or at least funneling weapons throughout the region. And he became a billionaire oligarch through it. And one way he washed his money was putting it through Khabib's camp. And Khabib was not only fully aware of this, but gained a lot of money from him doing so. And thanks to a lot of that money that flowed through the camp, Khabib has become a very rich man post his MMA career because he really, even though he was a star, the UFC compared to top level UFC fighters don't make the money that, for example, top level boxers do yet because the sport is barely 30 years old. So, Khabib is not as clean. A lot of the stuff that he's done would be considered haram according to his belief that he feels so strongly about. He's obviously a Muslim. So, I actually think Khabib in a lot of ways. I don't think he's like a sissy or anything, but I do think Khabib and all those Dagestanis around him, Islam Makhachev, Umar Nurmagomedov, Saeed Nurmagomedov. I think a lot of those, his late father Abdul Manap. I think all those guys are just a bunch of fakesters. Those guys,
Hypocrites.
yeah, no, I wouldn't say maybe hypocrites, but I think they play up how stoic and reserved they are. I'm sure they're very traditional. I wouldn't deny that. That part of Russia, the Caucasus Mountains, where the Chechens and all these people live, very traditionalist Muslim area. But I don't think that these guys are as wholesome or as clean as they like to portray themselves as. They're into very dirty business, like a lot of the people in the Muslim world are. The Muslims will like to. Muslims I've always found to be quite dishonest, in my opinion, about how clean they like to wash their hands of stuff. They'll make fun of Westerners for the LGBT stuff, but they won't tell you about the stuff that the Saudi princes do, for example, or a lot of the top level Islamic leadership likes to get into, and a lot of the stuff that even in the
I
other regions they like to get into. So it's all to me, it's always been very dishonest.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
crazy.
I'm speechless. So if anybody want to take over until I just gather my thoughts, be welcome. And I'm sure our readers, our listeners here, they go, my God, what they have a big WTF in their on the top of their heads. So, Josh, please, carry on. I
Anthony, man, you gonna make some input, man? I know you're into this stuff too, MMA and stuff, right? Is he stay? Is he
Yeah,
uh,
there?
sorry, I missed the last part. I
No,
had
we
to
were talking
step
about
away.
oh,
actually Unchained. Go ahead and or Mario, go ahead. Yeah, tell him what we were talking about.
Punish Gusano just reminded us that not everything is not every garden is greener on the other side. Regarding that, for example, when we talk about Khabib Nurmagomedov, who happens to be a Dagestani fighter, happens to be not so wholesome and clean in his stoic thoughts. After I want to say denouncing because this is already public knowledge, but let's just say reminding us about some interesting points regarding him as being the focal point of a money laundering scheme by another fighter who became a billionaire, which was imprisoned by Vladimir Putin himself. And that the rejection of the $100 million contract was actually a public stunt because although he did rejected that contract, he made a huge amount of money by being the focal, the drop point of many money laundering scheme by this guy, which is dishonest. And we will also deal with something really interesting that if my co-hosts would like to dwell on it, because I know we are just skating on thin ice, is about how the Muslim rank and file man happens to mock the laxity of Western civilization, the laxity morals of Western civilization, while hiding their own the lack of morals in their own backyard. I remember watching, for example, watching pictures back in when I was in my 20s about books that refer gay corners in cities, in some rich cities and liberal cities in the Middle East. There are corners where gay people meet to mingle. And of course, this is not something that you mention in the street in everyday life. That the human beings, the desire of the human beings is universal, both in good and evil, and the way they get their desires is also relentless. And men will want to get their nut off, even if it is by healthy means or by rotten means. And just Polish Gusano opened a whole kind of worms in which I want to piggyback into it. If
Uh,
anybody
Well,
I
wishes
can actually
to,
add real quick.
well,
Hold up. Let me add this
yeah,
detail.
please.
The specific oligarch that the billion oligarch that Khabib received money from was Ziad Magomedov, and he was sentenced, I believe, to life in prison by the Russian government for embezzling
oh,
180
just like
million
that,
dollars. Yeah, he's in jail.
he is rotting in prison until he dies.
I believe so. Is the he got excuse me, no, not 19 years, 19-year prison sentence on embezzling funds and organizing crime. He embezzled $180 that he hid from the Russian government, and a lot of that money went to the MMA fight team that Khabib ran, as well as combat sports organizations in Russia. His name is
Is that guy Muslim too?
Ziyavudin Magomedov, huh?
Is that guy Muslim too?
Yeah, well, he's Dagestani, so I would assume he's a
Oh,
Muslim.
Dagestan is a Muslim nation.
Yeah, well, they're a region of Russia. That
Yeah,
is
mostly Muslim.
that is
Yes, correct.
basically all. Yeah, them and Chechnya are virtually all Muslim.
Well, I just wanna, yeah, I didn't know about
No,
this
go ahead,
actually.
please.
This is interest. Yeah, this is interesting information. I would love to look into that.
Because
But
this is the thing. I mean,
if I
I'm sorry. Please go ahead. I'll just when you finish.
yeah, just two quick points. I didn't know that much about him. What I do know about him is he definitely carried himself better than McGregor because McGregor was talking a lot of crap. He's a showman though. I guess that's his thing, right? He was talking a lot of crap. He was getting publicity, he was getting eyes so that UFC can make money. But he really made him look bad because the way he knocked him out, if I remember correctly, was very embarrassing. Or I didn't think he knocked him out.
He choked.
He submitted him, right?
Yeah, he choked Connor
Yeah,
in the
he choked him
fourth.
out. But in a very embarrassing way, and I guess he was trying to make a point. But there is a certain
Um,
culture in those areas. There is a certain culture. The men are supposed to be very manly. The women are very traditional. Like they cannot do certain things. They're not allowed by law to have certain freedoms, quote unquote, that we have here in the Western society, right? But about this gay stuff, I don't know. It's like, here's the thing, right? Here, and this is what a lot of critics of Russia say. Well, they have gay bars too. Yeah, okay, they have gay bars, but they don't promote it in the media. They don't promote it in schools. Uh, it's not something that is looked up by society in those parts of the world. So I think it's not a fair comparison. It's a little facetious to say that, well, they have gay people too. Okay, gay people are all over the world, but it's a different culture. They don't promote that kind of a lifestyle,
Well,
is what I'm saying.
it's not so much that they have gay people. I agree. Those people have existed since the very early days. But it's really like what I was talking to when I specifically mentioned was the leadership. The leadership, for example, in Saudi Arabia, will make light of the fact that the Westerners are openly degenerate, and that they promote sodomy, LGBTQI, all this
Exactly,
stuff. But
exactly.
the hypocrisy is in the fact that the same Saudi leadership will then ship American B-side models in from the West, and then have them poop on them. That's just the truth. I mean, there's tons of documentation about this. A lot of those guys also
I
okay,
think
tell
indulge.
me
they're the
something,
one
right?
doing the. I think they're the one doing the pooping.
I know that's what I said. Well, no, no,
No,
no, no,
I
no.
think the idea,
It
the
goes both ways. It
symbology
goes both
is
ways.
Those are really good
the
both ways.
symbology would
Yeah, it
be
does.
the humiliation of the beauty of the Western woman, the prostitution of the soul. I mean, make her humiliate herself. I mean, because money, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'll give you $1 million. $1 million is so for some of them, it's nothing. But for her, she's willing to give her life about it. So he
Yeah.
says, I am going to humiliate in such a way that you will never forget. And they do it. And
Mm-hmm.
they give her the money. But every moment that this is the trick. And this is a little secret that I will tell that you already that you fellow co-hosts know.
I have some insider knowledge about this. Sorry, Mario.
Yeah, please.
I know.
After I finish, I want to hear it. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Is that
Yes. Yes.
when you earn your money by prostituting yourself, that money you spend is going to condemn you.
Yes.
Because when you do something that is noble and good, the money you get and the money and the way you spend it is a prize on your existence. It's a congratulation because you did something good. But when you make your money by stealing, cheating, and killing, that money will not really give you true satisfaction, even in your survival. That's why you get many criminals who drown their psyche in drugs because they need to feel that existential void that the crime they committed left in their souls. That's why when this I believe some men, some Eastern men who have a grip on the culture and the economic Europe. And when I say Europe, I'm not saying the continent. I'm saying the civilization, the Western world. They hate us so much that they gloat on the destruction one soul at a time. Yes, that woman who is humiliated will get the $1 million, but she'll never be the same. She she gave away something that she will never get back. Her soul. That is something similar that is happening to the OnlyFans women
Well,
who regret doing what they do. And they say, I'm a business owner. The fault is them because those incels who pay for my pictures. They are, and I'm just surviving because those are cope. And you will see it because I happen to come across those women, those some of those people, and it's sad. It is sad. I would
I'm
rather
sorry,
masturbate. Please,
yeah.
please, please go ahead. I got myself carried away. Anthony, it's your turn, please. Don't mind me.
No, 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 it's fine. You made some great points, and it got me thinking. But I have to push back. I don't think you can blame the Eastern men for taking advantage of something that's promoted in our culture. Our culture promotes these quote unquote freedoms of prostituting yourself as a woman. And then we say, well, it's not our fault. It's some other outside force that's taking advantage of our weakness. Well, you could make the same argument about Russia, right? When the Soviet Union fell apart, American businessmen came to Russia. They took advantage of the women. They bought prostitutes. They uh, took all the resources in Russia. They abused the culture. They abused the country. Uh, Drug crimes went up. Prostitution. Ch Orphans were everywhere in the street. Uh, when the Soviet Union collapsed, America took full advantage of that, right?
Yes,
So do you blame America, or who do you blame in that case?
I'd
So
actually
now
push
we are in
back
a
on that.
similar,
But go ahead.
we're in a similar situation now. So what?
finish
So
that. Finish, Gustavo
do we
wants to say
blame the
something. Finish
fact
and then.
that do we blame the fact that our politicians let us down? That they keep lying to us, making false promises, and they're not really looking out for our people. We're sending all our money overseas, building all these bases and cooling all these governments when we should be developing our country. So it's the fault of some outside force, or is it our fault? Do we need to look inside as a culture, as a people? Do we have to make ourselves better before we can go and tell what other people have to do? Right? We're telling you this country has to have this government because we say so, and that country has to do this because we say so. And they're kind of sick of that. They're angry at us because we're going around telling people how to live their lives, how to structure their governments. Why don't we let them do it themselves? Why do we have to keep sanctioning half the planet? What's the purpose of that? Why? So this is kind of like I don't know if you believe in karma or whatever, but we are projecting a negative force outside, and it's rotting our body from the inside, our country. So should we really be like looking inside and developing our country as opposed to spending all these resources to hold together this fake empire of lies that we have? So this is what I have to say about that. And real quickly, one more thing, just because you mentioned about, I know somebody in Russia that told me about this girl. She actually went and became like a hooker in Saudi Arabia or UAE or one of those countries. She made great money and she started like a small business with that money. Because some of them probably spend on bags and just some bullshit. She took that money. You may judge her, but she took that money and she has moved up in status. Now she has her own business. So what do you say about somebody like that? I don't know. So that's something to think about. Yeah, two points I wanted to make. Sorry.
Polish Gusano, if you
I
wish.
actually agree with three-fourths of what you were saying about countries building themselves back up. But though I will push back heavily on your initial notion. Correct me if I'm wrong. You said that how can you blame the Eastern men for exploiting the services that are openly available from these women? But really, that same mindset is what people say when the Democratic and liberal leadership in major cities steps to the side when black people go and burn down every building in sight. Well, the police let them do it is not a good argument for it still being a bad thing to do. It doesn't, and this is the same thing that black people use the reverse logic to excuse why they should be able to rape, steal, and kill indiscriminately when they say, "Oh well, we were discriminated against 150 years ago. We were put into slavery, generational trauma." But that doesn't really excuse your doings. Whatever other people did to your ancestors, they didn't do to you. That's simply identifying with trauma that's not yours, and that's really possession. You're being possessed by a identity that is not yours. It's the same issue that transgender people have. It's a sort of dysphoria where you identify with something that neither happened to you nor really concerns or is about you. And that would be my pushback. Yeah, these women that prostitute themselves, it's their doing and it's their ill. But the men who give them money are also just as palpable. It's the same spirit. When these Saudi princes ship in a B-side model from New York to have her crap in his mouth, it's as bad as the woman who would take the money, fly over there to crap in his mouth. That's the one thing I'll say. They're both culpable. It's not one is blameless, one is blameful. They're both to be at blame. It's their doing.
Yeah, for
Appalling,
sure.
but true.
For sure. Maybe you misunderstood my point a little
Okay.
bit, but I was saying is what I want to focus on is the culture that promotes such actions. What I'm saying is our culture sees it as a freedom, like for women, feminism, and for them to
Yes.
make money in such a ways. So women think that, okay, so I can make money on OnlyFans
Mm-hmm.
or I can sell my body, and that's a good way, and I'm popular, and I have so many followers. We are promoting, our social media is promoting this kind of behavior,
One hundred
is what I'm
percent.
saying.
100%. But
And
what
then if
what?
we
Go
are
ahead. Go ahead.
promoting it, yeah, of course, there's some blame of somebody who takes advantage of such people, of course. But we have to look at
Really,
ourselves too as a culture.
but never forget that the final decision lies on one, on only one person, which is the one who will take the action. Because as you said, Punish Gusano, the black roving bands who gloat in destruction foreign property, usually white, claiming that the excuse of no, I did it because my ancestors, they are enjoying it. Nobody provoked them.
Yes.
They are guilty. And the same is, and you can say it's a cultural thing. It's not. I mean, okay, you can say it with also authority. I believe it's not. Why? Because when confronted with the choice of doing and not doing, it is your conscience that will dictate your action. Because some people have said yes. Imagine if every one of the black people who could say that didn't say it and didn't attack them, it would have never happened. It would have not been the culture. It would have been them. So, as we mentioned before, maybe you were not here, Anthony, in previous podcast when we talked about, for example, Al Sharpton and other these grifters, real grifters, who took advantage of the trauma of the collective black community and fostered their anger by making a profit for themselves. That's what I have to say about it.
Yeah.
Please,
Yeah,
Anthony,
there's
if you wish
definitely
to.
people like that. Yeah. Al Sharpton was a scammer pretty much his whole
He
life.
was a pimp. A lot of people don't
Uh,
know that. He was a pimp. He
yeah,
pimped
yeah,
out
he
his
was.
women.
He was. There was a mafia guy who was. He's kind of famous on YouTube. I forget his name, but he was saying that Al Sharpton was a Fed
Yeah. Yeah,
and he
yeah,
was
yeah. I know
trying
who
to
you're
buy
talking about.
drugs off of him.
Yep.
Michael Francesi or Francesi or something like that. Yeah. Anyways,
Francese, Michael Francese, one
Are
of
you
the
yeah,
talking
missing
yeah,
about the
yeah.
guy
500.
that was on? Yeah, he lives in
Yeah, but you
California
know
now. He
what's
wasn't he the one that like did the
yeah,
gas scam.
yes, he had to
Okay.
run from New York. Yes, that's it. Yeah. But yeah, they keep saying that he's a rat, that he read
He
out
is.
like his
You can tell by his
college or something.
positions in
Yeah.
government. I mean, that dude is probably one of the biggest liberal civil rights activists that is still given huge platforms to this day. He's on CNN, MSNBC, NBC. He went from being a pimp drug dealer to doing that. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense.
Oh, you're talking about Sharpton,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, because we were just talking about Michael. I just wanted.
Okay, okay, my
Okay.
bad. But I wanted to
Yeah,
follow up
I
No,
just
but
want.
with something.
they relate to one another in the sense of
Yeah, I
committing
just
the
wanted to make a
crime.
quick funny point. It's kind of ironic. If you remember Kyle Rittenhouse, they were trying to make him out to. The media was trying to say that he shot three black people.
Yeah.
There were some news stories. They were trying to make him a racist, but funny enough, a lot of these rioters, they were white people. He shot three white people.
Well, he shot
So
three
that
Yahudis.
crowd, yeah, that well, yeah, that crowd. There was not much black people in that crowd. That was the ironic thing during the whole George Floyd protest. If you remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
But can I just follow up my point? What I was really referring to, I agree with what Anthony's saying, but what I'm really referring to is specifically in Islamic countries, um, they may be more, they're definitely more modest and they're definitely more traditional, especially in the Middle East, than the Westerners are right now. But what I find interesting about Islamic countries is, again, it's this hypocrisy where they'll laugh at liberalism, but as soon as they get into a conflict that is more than they can chew on, what values do they defer to first? When Gaza when Gaza was invaded by Israel, who did the Muslim community appeal to first? The right wing values, the more conservative values, or the more liberal values? What they start talking about: human rights, humanitarian issues, world excuse me what's it called, global, what's it called, world law, not world laws, international law, things like this, which are liberal, more left wing ideals. When they got invaded by Westerners in the late 1900s, who did they appeal to? Did they appeal to the more conservative West or the more socialist Soviet Union? It's the same thing. So Muslims like to point and laugh at Westerners, Europeans, Americans, South Americans, and say they're all degenerate losers who are infected by liberal values. But as soon as they're up against the wall, they will adopt liberal values. There's been studies that have been done uh, uh, of first generation and second generation Muslim immigrants to Western country. They liberalize faster than any other religious group in the West. It's taken several generations, up and upon generations, for the West to liberalize as it's done, and it's not even completely liberalized because there's always a strong conservative pushback. We saw this in the United States in 2016. We're seeing it with the current Polish leadership. We saw it somewhat with the Italians, and we're seeing it somewhat now in Argentina. Regardless of what we think of Milei, but the Muslims love to wag their finger and laugh at Westerners, but they will appeal to those same liberal values when it's time for them to receive any aid or any type of military support that they need. And I've always found that very hypocritical. they will start using liberal talking points to get their way. So I just find them to be dishonest in almost every single one of the topics that they discuss.
A question to Punish Gusano.
Yes.
I don't. Before a little introduction,
Yeah.
I don't see it. This is the thing. I might be wrong, and I expect you to correct me. But I don't see it necessarily wrong that when you are into a conflict, you appeal to the rationality and the goodwill of the other party in order to solve the problem before going into a war, before going into armed uh, conflict. Uh, does this relate to the liberals? Because as you may picture it, it's like we will put on this facade of being tough and uncompromising, but when shit hits the fan, we will bow to your will and your values in order to get goodies.
No, I'm not talking about them trying to appease. What I'm talking about is, for example, I had a Muslim friend, um, and he's like a real, I guess, traditionalist Muslim, and he talks about like Sharia and how he optimally, the United States would be better off under Sharia law. But I remember when it comes time, when I remember when Trump did the Muslim ban in 2017, it was one of the first executive orders he did, and this was a Muslim plan that was written up by Barack Obama. Trump just enacted it. I remember my same Muslim friend started appealing to freedom and democracy, and I found that to be somewhat a little bit ironic, considering that in his ideal world, he wouldn't let Christians move into the United States. He wouldn't let Jews move to the United States, Hindus and Buddhists. So, in his ideal world, oh well, you know, I wouldn't, let freedom as we know in the United States would not be allowed. But as soon as any type of strong conservative hand bans an obvious threat to the United States, which is Islamic terrorism, just recently we talked about that jihadist that was on the FBI's most wanted list being found crossing the Mexican border without any issue. And what a coincidence! Under Trump, there was no Islamic threat whatsoever in the 4 years he was in office. So people can say this or that about it, but that enactment was obviously a very good and especially in hindsight was a very good decision. And I just found his dual sentiment about conservatism, which in part a big aspect of the conservative viewpoint is demographics. To keep a core of the traditional demographics that make up your value system and or your nation's history. But as soon as America didn't want outsiders that could pose a serious terroristic threat to the United States, he started appealing to the same talking points that the liberals were. Well, this country's about freedom, this country's about democracy. How can he do this? So I've always found that to be very hypocritical.
Reminds me of the expression a psychopath will use the power of your own morality, the weight of your own morality to
Yes.
crush you.
Yep. Well, that's actually in the Quran,
Because
but go ahead.
that's what I mean. It's like, oh, then you are trampling the very core values that you claim to uphold.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're using them to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
He says like is that's yes, I have to agree with you. Seeing it that way, it's appalling. Not two ways about it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's sound. It is.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I wanted to ask. I want to ask the three of you this question, which is how is going what is going to happen in the upcoming times regarding what you see with uh, this shift. Let's go back to the today's world. Uh, what's going to happen now in the United States in the next 6 months regarding the economy? Josh, you were mentioning since you seem to be the most
No,
savvy person.
like I said, We're gonna see probably a housing bubble. I mean, we're already starting to see foreclosure rates increasing, especially in the markets that we saw in 2008, like Florida, Nevada. These places, basically the places that skyrocketed in the amount of volume of home sales are starting to see price reductions. I live in Florida, so like I see my area, and my area is one of the hardest hit, Central Florida. So like I'm seeing houses going up for sale left and right. And I was like, right when I saw that, I was like, damn, I was spot on. I was expecting a housing bubble to start at the end of 2023 into 2024. And it's happening. But the first signs usually is credit card debt skyrockets, then cars start, repossession of vehicles, missed payments on vehicles. Then you start seeing missed payments on homes, and then you start seeing foreclosures. We're in the final stage now where you're starting to see price reductions in homes in foreclosure.
I read I read some news that it was like a record high numbers of people not being able to pay their car payments. Is that something I read? And is that true
Well, I
that
mean,
in United
when you have a
States there?
when you have
Yeah,
a
please go ahead.
yeah
There's no
when you
sound.
have car payments or truck pay when you have car payments or truck payments that are the equivalent to the price of your house, between $500 to $1,000, my car payment's $525 a month. I mean, that's a rent payment. Like, like in your country, what is that? That's a salary pretty much, right? In Argentina?
Right now, the thing is this one. 10 years ago, my salary was $2,600. Today, my salary is $345. But to my acquiring power, it's a good salary. I mean, I live well with $345. So it's the idea of being poor on rich on a number of income is relative. So yes, it's true what you say. I am making right now as a good salary $365, but I live well. But you get it. But I get your idea. I mean, your payment, how much is it? What, $1,400?
Well, yeah. Going back to the U.S. economy, yeah, like I said, we're gonna see a housing bubble. It's gonna happen. I wrote on my Twitter account that you're gonna see basically the boomers lose 70% of their wealth over the next year, and that's
What
what
do you
happened
mean?
in the
That's good
depression.
news.
That's great news
One question
because you're gonna see
to
redistribution of
Josh.
wealth.
When One question to Josh, and then please Luciano will have the word. But Josh, when you say 70% of wealth, do you mean
What do
70% of the value of their possessions, or 70% of their purchasing power?
The purchasing power? Well, no, it's more multifaceted than that. What I mean is, like, boomers have, like, the baby boomers control about 75% of the wealth in the United States, right? Most of that money is in real estate, residential real estate, commercial real estate, um, banks, like liquid cash, and the stock market. The thing is that they're heavily leveraged in the stock market. That's why the stock market is doing this. It's not doing this, it's not doing this. It's rigged, and it's not rigged necessarily in the sense where there's people manipulating it. It's rigged in the sense that half of it is pretty much retirement funds. It's all pensions, it's state, federal, private pensions, it's mutual funds, it's BlackRock, it's all these different, investors that are propping it up. But when the economy falls, when the rug gets pulled, that market's going to crash by 70%. You're going to see states file bankruptcy. They're going to use the pensions to pay off the debts, and municipalities too that have pensions. Private corporations are going to use the pensions of the employees to pay off their debts to their stockholders. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. 70% loss. That's coming. You're going to see
Wow.
people. You're going to see somebody that worked their ass off their whole life, 30 years, and they're going to lose everything. And when they lose everything,
They
they're going to
lose
lose it.
it.
You're going to see that.
Polish
That's going to
Luciano.
happen. It's going to be the boomers that are going to lose it. It's not going to be so much the millennials or the zoomers. It's going to be the boomers. They're going to lose their brain. They're going to blow their brains out. Whatever. They're going to go crazy. They won't. They're not expecting it. They
No
think
panic.
it's lollipops and sundaes. Since 2008, same thing. They haven't learned their lesson. The greed is there. Greed is good, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They don't care.
Polish
They don't
Gusano.
care. They don't care about anybody. They don't care about they don't care about the X generation. They don't care about the millennials. They don't care about the Zoomers. They just blame us for everything. But the reality is the joke's on them because they're going to lose their pension. They're going to lose their Social Security. They're going to lose their home value, all their little trinkets and all of that, and they're going to be left with nothing. And they're going to die alone and poor. I mean, that's what I'm predicting.
Polish Gusano.
Yes, sir.
Josh has left me appalled and feeling miserable. Please say something a little bit more upbeat.
Well, that's I don't really have. I'm not gonna like lie, but it's not looking good. And the problem is the boomers. They kind of have been repeatedly told, and they're just kind of in denial. I mean, it's no wonder they're all old. So that any mindset they already have is not going to change. So it's yeah, I agree with Josh. It really isn't a
Painfully agree.
yeah. It's really not a it's not a good look. What's probably going to happen to the boomers, but really the saddest thing is yeah, the boomers will lose it, but we'll never even get a chance to see it. Especially us, me and Josh, because what are they saying that the what back in the '60s the ratio for pensioners was what 160 payers for every person that took out, something like that.
Yeah,
Something
we
like
won't
that.
see any retirement.
Yeah, we won't
We're
see
not
it
going
at
to see any
all.
of that.
So Social
No.
Security, that thing's gone in about
No.
at best 10 years. Go ahead.
Unless you're already on disability as an X-Gen millennial or Zoomer, you won't see that money.
Yeah. No, and I remember them saying that the Social Security, when it was first introduced, the amount of people paying into it versus person receiving was like 120 to 1, 150 to 1, something like that. It was in the lower to mid 100s. I believe the ratio in 2020 was 2 to 1. So there's two people paying for every one person receiving Social Security, and it's only going to keep going down. Eventually it's going to
Well,
either
one
hit
of the
1 to 1, which is worthless, or negative, which it would just completely fall like a house of cards.
That's we're already a negative. The reason why they're bringing so many immigrants in is because they need them to pay into this worthless system that
Yep.
has already failed. That's it.
So if this is the thing in Argentina, Milei was elected because of that, because he was the guy who said, "Do you know that the for every person who takes the money, only two people put in? It's unsustainable. We need to reform the retirement system." And of course, this is what got him elected. The idea of being charitable with somebody else's money is very appealing to politicians. And eventually just created them in a bubble. We call them la casta, the caste, because they are so incestuous in one another's relationship. You get, for example, from politicals from different parties that they go to the same college, and they meet in the first meetings when they are young, and then they do business. One, they buy with the money he steals, he buys a business, which he sets gerente, a manager.
Manager, yeah.
He sets a manager. Then the manager, since he cheats on him, because it's the thing. Another thing, the cheater, strangely enough, will believe the lies of another cheater. That's why politicians need to be always on the game, because they are incapable of making money. They are incapable of making sound decisions. They are incapable of trusting the right person because they love hearing lies. If you want to cheat a politician, lie to him just as much as he lies to you. The problem, and this is the thing, the gist, the punchline of the joke is that you can lie to a politician. He will believe your lies because he's counting that you're telling the truth, and his lie will be infallible. So you and these guys are easy to trap. A politician is easy to swindle and it's easy to trap, because the idea is that they remain the system, because the premise of this of the political system is that it's based on truth. I promise you something, you vote for me, and I do it for you. The thing is, I promise you something, you vote for me, I don't do it for you, but I still have 4x amounts of years in office, which you will forget eventually, and I'll lie you again, or I'll give you something a little less or much less, but at least it's something. You'll conform with it, and here the process goes again. But if you lie to a politician, he'll believe you, because everything is lies into him. That's why if you notice, they can't hold a business. They can be shareholders of a business, but they can't run a business. And most of the times, when they get a manager, that manager cheats on them and swindles and scams them. And of course, and if we go into a broader scheme of things, the life of a politician is miserable, because they can only foster their lifestyle with the lies and the money that they derive from the lies. The moment that they lose that, they lose everything. They even lose the people they love. They promise they love their wives and their children. I mean, think about it. Think about it, that they'll tell you when you're up in the hill, they look at you in the eyes and they'll tell you they love you, and they'll feel it. But when the shit hits the fan and you lose, they'll abandon you. And this is universal. So it's important, if we are to tell something to our dear listeners, is the following thing: prepare to be happy with the things you can be awarded but not earned, which means prepare to live to live with tolerance, live with temperance, live with patience, live with truth, live with those things are not earned. Those things, you either award themselves with them, you adopt them, or you don't. Because this is the thing: it will come. If you're in the United States, I'm afraid to tell you. Please, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong. Punch Susano, correct me if I'm wrong. It's going to be a moment where you will lose. You will do everything right and you will lose, and there will be nobody to blame. And if you lose it, like the Zoomers that Josh is predicting to have, you will lose. You will lose everything, even your life. You'll enter into a spiral of desperation that is going to eat your soul and eat your life. So if when we tell you to read Marcus Aurelius, to read Santo Tomas of Aquinas, to read the classics, to read Plato, is to reinforce your soul, because eventually your soul is the only thing you have. And then get a trade, toil, go and become an electrician, endure, embrace the pain, learn, go fast a couple of days, learn how it feels to be hungry, and learn to deal with hunger, because you can do it now, that is your choice, or you can do it later and be prepared. But
Yeah, I mean,
all of us, I mean, I'm sure, Josh, have you ever went hungry for a couple of days?
yeah, I have. Yeah, missed a couple
How
meals.
was it?
Not by choice. Not by choice. It wasn't fun. It was not fun.
But how did you feel? How was the
Um,
experience?
it was pretty disheartening. But the thing is now I do it by choice. I do intermittent fasting. It helps clear the mind, and it also helps with digestion. But for the most part, it was disheartening at the time. This is when I was younger, like 20s and stuff. I went a day without, and it wasn't like I didn't eat anything. I didn't have anything, like basically like a hot pocket or something like that, and that's all I had, because I was in college and I was poor, I didn't have any money, so it sucked. And I was
and you
like,
had
I'm
to
getting a
skip
job. I'm
meals,
gonna,
and
yeah, I had to skip
but
meals. I was like,
eventually,
I'm gonna get, yeah.
turn your Polish Gusano. How are you dealing with the lack of material tools and material supplies?
The biggest thing has been foods that I generally would always expect to be available. They're just sometimes not there. I find an alternative. It's just what it is. If there's not a yogurt that I like, I get the next best thing. If there's no yogurt at all, we're eating cottage cheese. It's as simple as that. I kind of just cope with it with whatever. I'm actually a picky eater, but I will eat if I have to. So,
Anthony. Oh no, Anthony's not around. Well, it seems that we may have people who
Yeah,
I want to.
yeah,
Oh,
he skipped out. We
okay.
have Jim
This
Jones, but I
is
don't know if he wants to speak or not.
Jim Jones. Would you like to speak? Well, if you want to speak, just ask for your turn. But this is the thing. Uh, embrace scarcity. Become friends with the scarcity. Even if you now live a life of abundance, dear listener, embrace scarcity because one day scarcity will arrive and will kick your door open and will settle in your house without any permission, and you will not be able to do anything about it. So it's better that you become friends of it now and and do it and adopt it so you can
Yeah, I mean,
know. Go ahead, please.
no, I'm just saying, yeah, as an athlete, like as a college athlete and professional athlete and high school athlete, the whole point of practice is to prepare you for the game, for the big game. You put all this time and all this effort, practicing 5 days a week. Professionally, we did like 3 or 4 days, but I mean, you're preparing yourself for combat, for the game, for the competition. So I mean, right now you could do slight little preps. I mean, you could go like I'm gonna fast for 24 hours to see what it's like because in the future I may not have food for a day or two. So they may be out of food. I mean, this stuff happens, man. It happened in the Soviet Union. It's happened throughout history. So it's best to be prepared, and then that way you know what you're facing, and you know how to deal with it. Because when you are hungry and there's chaos and you're like freaking out, it's not good. You know what I mean?
The thing is this, I mean, yes, the idea is build your temperance on scarcity. It says no pain should. I think in this expression, pain is something to be cherished because the soul of the man is both the chisel and the marble. So yes, if you are now living a life of abundance, see to embrace the scarcity. Uh, take a hike. Go hiking. I mean, in a secured place, not to harm yourself, but go and do an extenuating task that is going to be hurt, that is going to remain to hurtful, that is going to be demanding, and that you will come out and you will come out stronger, mentally and emotionally stronger, because there is no other way. There is no other way. I tried, and believe you me, in the 42 years I have in existence, I always for the last 25 years, I mean for the first 25 years, I thought myself to be smart enough to pick an easier way. I thought I could smart life out, and I didn't. And I didn't. And I realized that the fastest way is the hard way. I'm not proud. I mean, I wish I was smarter to actually manage to pull it through earlier. I would have been more successful. I am happy now. I'm not complaining. But for Christ's sake, could have been less painful? Yes. And who made it more painful? Me. My own arrogance of thinking myself better than life, better than God. And God loves you so much that we won't destroy you. He will just put you in your place, like a loving father. And yes. So we are arriving at our time limit for the show. So we may take some minutes on for the closing thoughts, and we will call it a day. Punish Gusano,
Mm-hmm.
would you have anything to say,
Oh,
or Josh? Punish Gusano, please go
okay,
ahead.
okay. Yeah, I mean,
No, go ahead, Unchained. Yeah, go ahead.
I think scarcity, um, learning to live with very small means, absolutely is a skill that all men should learn. Um, if you learn to live with scarcity, you can always live below your means. Something that Josh was talking about, I know earlier in the show, and I totally agree. I think a lot of people in general, not just women and men, or excuse me, not just women, don't know how to spend their money correctly, and especially with the way the prices of groceries are going. For example, the other day I went to go get 2 gallons of milk, some bread, um, I think some ground beef, and some patties. I think I bought nothing. I don't think I bought more than 6 or 7 items, and I ended up spending 50 or $60. Might have been like $56. Which back when I was younger, back in pre 2010s and even early 2000, the early 2010s, a cart like that wouldn't have cost you more than $25 to $30. So it's just the price of stuff is insane. Milk is like one of the best indicators for inflation. I don't think I've ever gone back to the store. I think in the last 6 years, I've gone back to the store and seen the same price of milk twice. Genuinely, I
Yeah,
shop at Walmart. I'll be real. I don't shop at any other crazy. Shop at Walmart for my milk, and I don't think I've ever seen it the same price twice. And that's as far back as I can remember. So definitely learn to live below your means and learn to live very frugally. If I could offer some advice, um, if for the fitness boys, you guys don't know what I'm talking about. Learn count your calories for like a month. Go to you can find calculators that will tell you your how many calories you should eat to maintain your weight and for your weight and height. Try to eat close to that amount for a month. Track your calories. Make that eating style a habit, and then you'll never have to count it after that. And you can just learn to eat a certain way that will be frugal and also but still beneficial and healthy.
Uh,
that's a good point. The other thing I noticed, like he was talking about milk, milk, like when they they characterize inflation over time. The things they check is like the things that the data analysis is home prices, car values, and the price of milk and the price of a gallon of gas. That's generally what they determine for inflation over a period of time. But yeah, like I went to the store too, like what Asada was saying, and I bought milk and I brought it home and it was already spoiled, and it had an expiry date that was a week later. So that means that they're taking milk and they're stamping it as fresh and it's really spoiled. This is what happens like in societies when like it's collapsing, like when the supply lines are breaking down and people aren't buying and they're producing, what I mean. This is what happens. This is the textbook of
um,
what happens.
sorry, let me please just one thing because it's very interesting. But this is the thing. When you were saying that, I remember a book written in Germany in 1950, I think. It's called "When Money Dies," which leads to chronicles little life stories of people in the Weimar Republic. Before the ascension of Hitler, there was the Weimar Republic, and Hitler didn't come out of a vacuum. Hitler was the answer of a very, very steep crisis that hurt the core of the Germans. We're talking about when they say this is a Weimar Republic crisis, that's what they mean. We're talking about children prostituted in the street to help their parents. That's what we're talking about. And there was this book called When Money Dies. If you, dear listener, who is interested in reading bibliography and to inform yourself of things, learn the book called When Money Dies. And the second thing is this one that I will is the following thing: if you can learn how to be poor, because that's also a skill, you can learn how to be rich. You can allow yourself to be rich and in abundance and spend, and sometimes spend above your means, because you will not panic when you lose everything. Assume you will lose everything. So when you have very little and you're in peace and in balance with those very little, because eventually you need very, you will realize that you will need very little. One size of one fist size of food for your stomach every day, or twice maybe. A liter of water, that's for food, only that. Of course, make it as healthy as you can. I mean, it's not stupid. And then just some entertainment, an activity that is extraneous and demanding for the brain, and a good sleep, and a place where to sleep. That's when that is not. Although it has its cost. It's not as expensive as a full life, clearly. But when you learn how to be poor, you will learn how to be rich. And that's all I have to say. Josh, continue, and I'll let you finish.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the main thing is like I said, like it's not. I when I look at like the decline, it's like it's not. It's a learning experience, like I said, and the best way to deal with it is to be humble and be minimalist. That's a new trend. You know, what I mean, that's an ongoing trend right now, and it's cool, man. Minimalism is what I practice. Um, I only invest like when I buy things, I look at it as an investment. So like I'll buy like a watch or something like that because I could sell it later for money. It's worth something. Versus like a piece of plastic, it's like, is it really valuable? I mean, can I do anything with it? So I mean, like certain things that are useful. So a watch is useful. If it's well built, it'll last. Because they still have Soviet watches from like, 50 years ago that are selling. They some sell for quite a bit of money. Art collectibles, these are things that went on during the depression as well as during the war. A lot of there are different things that you can put money into when this money is worthless. You know what I mean? Before the collapse. But more importantly, like I said, is just prepare, man. Prepare yourself mentally, prepare yourself physically, and I mean, it's going to be tough times. But like I said, those that have a very level-headed mindset, and Aaron Clary talks about this too. He said basically that the most valuable commodity is going to be mental health in the future, the next decade. That's all I can say about that. I'll close with that.
And I was going to say something, but I think it wasn't as important as what you just said. So I think it's 9 minutes after midnight here in Argentina. I believe it's 9 minutes after 10 in Miami.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been a
10.
long
Yep.
day, very productive, and as always, I'm really happy and fulfilled and content to and satisfied to have made this show with you, with Josh, whose insight is always enlightening about the matters in the world. It's always good and refreshing to listen to Punish Gusano, a young man that gives hope that not everything is lost, that there is a bright future waiting for us in our later days. And me, I'll do what I can, and sometimes it comes out right. For that, I thank you. I thank you, dear listener, to
Yeah,
to to
subscribe.
accompany us
Yeah, like and
to
subscribe.
this.
Those.
Like,
Yeah.
yes, of course, that was it. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends about the show. Those who you trust. I mean, we understand we are not for everyone, and we might be rather select. So talk about us to your friends. Share with us. Talk. Write in the comments if you wish to join us and to share your experience. I mean, we're more than welcome. And the idea is that we roll this roll together. We roll this path together, and we'll be your friends. We are you eventually. We are you. Maybe from another time. But if if I wanted to have somebody to tell, my life would have been so great if I would have done something like me, telling you or telling me which way the right way. For that all, we'll be waiting for you on Friday. That is, God willing, 2 days from 1 day, 2 days from now. And we wish you the best of success in this time and in your future.
And a happy
Make sound
Thanksgiving.
choices.
And a happy Thanksgiving to
Yeah,
Happy
everybody in the
Thanksgiving.
United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving. Good night. And I wish you all the best in success.
Take care, everybody. Like and
Today,
subscribe.
like and subscribe. And tell your friends.